WNBA, obviously. It is just WNBA. So with that said, I thought we'd have some fun and do a mock draft. So for all of you fantasy football owners who want to get your mock draft started, get off on the right foot, you have come to the right place. So Fumble Sports right now is going to do a mock draft live. Now, I'm curious to know, are you guys more of an auction draft crowd or a snake draft crowd? Me personally, I love a good auction draft. I prefer that much more, but I'm curious to know, do you guys play snake draft or you do auction draft? I'll base our first mock draft off of what you guys like to do, so let us know. Do you prefer snake draft? Do you prefer auction draft? Jorge's, you've never done an auction draft. Wow. Jorge, I highly recommend it. I feel like it turns your draft into your Super Bowl. If you're competitive like me, auction draft is outstanding. Would like to see how to do an auction draft? Oh, man, I'm all about it. That said, auction drafts are a little tricky because it's really about the players you're playing against. It's like poker in that way. So here's kind of how I think about snake draft versus auction draft. Snake draft is kind of like blackjack. Yes, the guy in front of you can screw you up, and yes, you can screw up the guy behind you, but you're kind of just dealt the cards you're dealt, and there's not much you can do. An auction draft is super competitive from the get-go. I am playing against my competition in the draft itself. I can screw them up. I can take the player they want. I'm being strategic. So, by the way, absolutely love it. Oh, and people who auto draft suck. There is a special place in purgatory for auto drafters. So, no, we are not pro auto drafters here. That is for sure. Okay, let's actually dive into a mock draft right now. So for all those playing along at home who are going to do their mock draft over the next few weeks, let's put together a mock draft right now so you guys can see how I'll be playing it. Now, don't have the opportunity here actually to do an auction, kind of disappointing. But that said, I can do my ESPN. We're going to randomize it, so we're going to give me not the first overall pick, but we'll just make it a little bit harder on me. I'll get the 5th overall pick. So let's start our mock draft. And what we're seeing so far is, by the way, kind of curious if mock drafts are really going to go this way. Justin Jefferson went 1st overall in this mock draft. I don't expect that in most, but this one, just kind of playing it out with the computer, Justin Jefferson went 1, Chubb 2, Christian McCaffrey 3, Jamar Chase 4. Okay, where does that leave us? That leaves us absolutely looking for a running back. Running back is the number one play. If you're in a position through, like, let's say the first 6 picks, I don't see how you don't go running back right off the bat. The depth at running back is going to be really important. You will want to get a number 1, a clear number 1. By the way, Jake, yo, what is up? So you can see who's still available, who's come off the board. You can see Jonathan Taylor. I brought him up before. He is right now slotted, at least here, as the number 3 overall running back. Not surprised that he's being ranked there, but I wouldn't personally rank him there in my estimation because, 1, the Colts overall as an offense, they're in transition with Anthony Richardson. I think opposing defenses are going to load the box with 8 defenders. They're going to force Anthony Richardson to beat them through the air. He has the ability. He has the arm strength, but I do think that it's going to be a little bit before we see Jonathan Taylor really facing some pass-happy or pass-focused defenses. That'll make his life a little bit harder. I'm not about Saquon Barkley. I don't like his situation in New York. 1, he isn't practicing. I know he's working out on his own. He's a beast. But the lack of time with the Giants, do I think that negatively impacts him? Maybe just a little bit. The distraction of the contract, everything else. And beyond that, am I trusting Daniel Jones and the Giants offense? Not so much. So, what's the player that I would select in my mock draft at number 5? I've talked about him a lot. It's Austin Eckler. Austin Eckler, to me, is the no-brainer pick. I really like Austin Eckler here for a number of reasons. 1, he is a really good running back who stays healthy, does a good job, obviously, of not only in the running game, but in the passing game. He is someone who talks about being kind of pro fantasy football and kind of acknowledging his fantasy owners. Love that. and he is also in a contract year, but different from Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley is in a franchise tag situation. So what are we going to get from him? Not quite sure. He doesn't even want to play. Austin Eckler wants to prove his value, either to be traded or to get a bigger contract. So Austin Eckler has to prove something. Saquon Barkley feels like he already has proven it, and I think he's going to pull his foot off the gas a little bit. So first pick that I would take in my mock draft is a no-brainer. It's Austin Eckler, everybody. So that's who I took with my first overall pick. As we do our first mock draft here at Fumble Sports, we're going to be going through a ton of mock drafts. For the purposes of this, I'm in a 12-team league. We're doing ESPN scoring, and I'm the 5th overall pick. This is a snake draft. I like to do a lot of auction drafts, but this one is a snake draft. Jorge, I wouldn't have Justin Jefferson. I would not take a wide receiver first overall. I personally have a rule. I would not do it. It is putting a position where there's a lot of depth, a lot of value at a spot in the draft where you have to land good value. So for me, it's running back at number 1, no matter what. Need a running back that gets targets in PPR. Austin Eckler serves that purpose, so absolutely like that. By the way, just looking at kind of our draft log, after Eckler got drafted, no surprise here, Barkley, Henry, Taylor all went in the next 3. Bijan Robinson, he's going to be one that everybody's watching. He went 9th in this. Very interesting. I actually think that's an appropriate place for him. If people put him in their top 5, I think they're crazy. But towards the end of a first round, especially in a 12-team league, I think taking Bijan Robinson there is a good idea. So not a bad play. Interesting in this mock draft, Travis Kelce snuck into the first round. Very interesting. Additionally, I'm actually disappointed with how the second round played out, at least in what I would have liked to do. Ramondre Stevenson was absolutely the player I was targeting. I like to go double up on running backs. I think Stevenson could have a really good year for the Patriots, so the opportunity to take him would have been really nice. Missed out on that one. Okay, now that we missed out on that, where are we going to go next? I lean towards staying with running backs. And here's why. Because the depth at running back is harder to find. And when you get guys who are locked in as an RB1, their value is so much greater than almost anybody else. Almost anyone else. By the way, Jorge, if someone is saying to draft Bijan at number 3, I think they're making a massive mistake. Bijan Robinson will hit the rookie wall at some point, week 11, week 12. There's no way Bijan Robinson's going to have 17 weeks of good production. We just don't see it from rookie running backs that often. It is very, very rare. Additionally, do we trust the Atlanta offense that much? Do we trust the Atlanta offensive line that much? Maybe we think they play in a bad division, but I wouldn't put Bijan in my top 3. For me, he's kind of between the 6th pick of the first round to the end of your first round, depending if you're in 10, 12, or 14-man leagues. So Jake's thinking Najee Harris here. That is someone I'd be attracted to, but actually, I think I might go with Travis Etienne. I think I like Travis Etienne a little bit more than I like Breece Hall coming off the injury. Again, I actually think the addition of Calvin Ridley could be good for Travis Etienne. You may go, why, but Fumble Sports? Isn't Trevor Lawrence going to be throwing the ball more? No, he's just going to be throwing to more offensive weapons that's going to have the defense more prone to stopping the passing game, which opens up the running game for Travis Etienne. And much like Austin Eckler, Travis Etienne is a incredibly versatile back, running, passing. He's going to be on the field for a number of different downs. I like that he's in a very good offense. I like the idea that he is a safety valve for his quarterback. Etienne is inconsistent. However, when I'm drafting him as an RB2, not as worrisome as if he was an RB1. I know some of you guys may be thinking this is a chance. I'm going to take Etienne, but I'm also going to take Etienne with the idea that I'm going to load up on running back in my first 3 picks. I know some of you guys may go, you're crazy, but Fumble Sports, but we have more faith in getting wide receiver, tight end, and quarterback later in the draft. I like to load up on running back, and what I would do, By the way, the reason I'm not going on Tony Pollard is coming off the injury. So coming off the injury, that's why I'm avoiding Tony Pollard. I wouldn't take him in the second round because of that injury. If he fell to the third, I'd jump up and grab it, but not here. So I'm actually going to go with ETN in my second round pick, and then I'm going to look for Gibbs or Pacheco as the guys I would take, maybe even Aaron Jones. I want to take a third running back. So, guys, I'm actually going to double up here. I'm going to draft Travis Etienne. I double up on running back. And then, look what ends up happening. There's a run. First of all, Tony Pollard went next, so you called that well. I know a lot of you guys... by the way, we are having a good conversation here, so if you guys like Najee Harris over Etienne or Bijan, I totally understand it. We're just playing it out. This is why we're here, so we can get different perspective, hopefully help you guys out and make good decisions on your mock draft. But I'll go with Etienne. He isn't coming off a serious injury. Love the offense. Think he's going to have a good third year in the league. Pollard, I get it. Najee Harris, they went right after in Hall. There was a run on those running backs. Not surprised. So a run on running backs. Part of the reason I wanted to get a second running back is you could expect there to be a run there. However, then you get the run on quarterbacks, Mahomes, Allen. Once I miss out on them, I'm not going to look towards running back for a little while because the value isn't quite there. However, if I were to, I'm telling you I'm going with 3 running backs off immediately. However, if you guys are looking for somebody else, keep your eye on Lamar Jackson. I'm just saying it now. Lamar Jackson has the potential to have an MVP caliber year. We know he's going to be healthy. We know he's paid. There's no more drama. He still has his legs. And by the way, this is the best wide receiver core he has ever played with in his life. High school, college, NFL. He has never had this many weapons to pass to. So I think Lamar Jackson is a good player to take. Again, it's not where I'm going. Make sure I say this again. I'm getting 3 running backs. You guys may go, you're crazy. There is no other position that is harder to get depth, that is more valuable, that gives you more weekly point production than the running back position. So I'd rather go 3 straight running backs, get my depth, and then not even think about it. Now, where am I going at the running back position? I told you guys before, there were kind of 3 guys that I had my eye on. One's off the board with Aaron Jones, but Gibbs, Pacheco are the other 2. I'm going Jahmyr Gibbs. I usually like to draft 1 rookie running back. Again, they usually hit a rookie wall at like week 12, week 13, but for the first 10 weeks of the year, they're incredibly productive. Jahmyr Gibbs is filling into that DeAndre Swift role. Again, good offensive line in Detroit. He becomes the safety valve for Jared Goff. He's impressed early. I'm not really concerned about that. I really like that I know what kind of role he fills. There aren't question marks around him. They drafted him to be a younger, better DeAndre Swift. I like Swift last year, cashed a lot of points with him. I'm going back to the well. I'm taking Jahmyr Gibbs, doubling down, tripling down on running backs. I love where I'm starting here because I just got 3 running backs that are in good offenses. They're multi-purposed. They run, they receive, they can get touchdowns. They're the safety valve of their quarterback. Eckler, Etienne, and Gibbs are very similar players. They all have potential to have 10-point receiving games, 15-point running back games. That's why I like these so much. So let's look at where the draft went after I took Jahmyr Gibbs. Again, we're doing a snake draft. I'm very big on auction drafts, but I know a lot of you guys do snake, so that's why I'm doing it today. After I took Jahmyr Gibbs, there was a run on wide receiver. Not surprised. Jalen Waddle, I thought he would actually go maybe even sooner than this. You saw Garrett Wilson go, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Chris Olave. That said, I'm sure there are some teams that, in this mock draft simulation who are looking at their running backs and they're like, Miles Sanders, they're number 1 or number 2. I feel so good. We have this position locked down. If I'm going to go back to running back, it'll be to get a young running back, a rookie, later in the draft, someone who might fall. But right now, I'm locked in there. Unfortunately, Lamar Jackson got taken just before us. If I could have gotten Lamar Jackson with my next pick, I would have considered my mock draft perfect right now. If I could have had Lamar Jackson to go with Eckler, Etienne, and Gibbs, would have been perfect. Unfortunately, didn't happen. So, where do we go from here? Interesting position that we're put in, because right now you could make the argument that Mark Andrews is a good play. Now, I'm not usually about taking a tight end this high in the draft. I still feel like I can get some value a little bit later. If I look at quarterbacks, Joe Burrow is attractive here. Joe Burrow right now is a good play. Not quite feeling it though, so I may not want to take this one. Let's go over to wide receiver. DK Metcalf, not as high on that. Calvin Ridley, not as high on that. I really need to get a wide receiver. I'm kind of running out of time to get a good wide receiver. I can get tight ends. There are enough tight ends here where I feel like I can snag Hawkinson, Ingram, Pitts. I feel like I could get another running back at another time. So I am going to go towards wide receiver. DK Metcalf, probably the safest pick here. Not what I really want to do. I really would have liked to have gotten Lamar Jackson, but this is one where you got to play kind of the best player available. I got to go get my wide receiver right now. I need a wide receiver one. I'm going to go get DK Metcalf. Again, if I could have gotten Lamar Jackson, if he wasn't drafted right before my spot, I would have taken him. But I think here I will go DK Metcalf. I actually like the idea that Jackson Smith and Jigba is going to open up some opportunity for Metcalf to get more one-on-one time. I know he'll be dealing with a lot of safety help, but DK Metcalf, he's a beast. Like the opportunity to draft him here, not overthinking it. By the way, one thing you always want to keep note of when you're drafting your bye weeks. I have a bye week problem. Week 5, week 9, I do need to address that in my bench. So guys, just make sure you're keeping track of your bye weeks. And while we're at it, let's look at how the picks went after my DK Metcalf. Again, run on running back, then a run on tight end. Glad I got my wide receiver when I did. No way Metcalf would have made it through. But that said, wish I could have maybe gotten a tight end to fall, Kittle or Andrews. Now, here's the tough question that you have to ask. Are we in a position to take quarterback, tight end, or wide receiver right now? I still wait on a quarterback. I think there are quarterbacks I can get. I can wait. I'm not going to rush that one. So instead, I'll look back towards wide receiver. Is there anyone I feel like doubling up on? I'm not big on Keenan Allen from an injury history. Same kind of with Mike Williams. I want to take one of them because I like the Los Angeles offense, but I'm a little bit wary. If I had to go in one direction, it might be Mike Williams. Keep your eye on Amari Cooper. That's an interesting one as well. Don't think any of them kind of outvalue. Still think you got to wait on the tight end here. So I'm going to double up on my wide receiver right now. I think the order I'm going to go in this is wide receiver, tight end, then quarterback. I think might slip in the wide receiver beforehand, but let's go. Thoughts on T. Higgins and Devontae Smith as wide receiver 2? Love that combination. That's a good call. That's a really good combination. By the way, I'm just seeing now on my Bleacher Report on a notification, Saquon Barkley could sit out week 1. Another reason why you may not want to take him early in your draft, not valuable enough. So I'm going to go with Mike Williams. I'm actually kind of curious about Amari Cooper. Do I like Amari Cooper enough? Those are the two that I'm kind of considering. Those two. Both are week 5 buys. Metcalf has a week 5 buy as well, so it doesn't help me out on the bye week, unfortunately. I wish I had one of them not on that bye week. That would have been nice. I think I'm going to go Amari Cooper. I think I'm going to switch it up and go opposite of what I thought. He's going to have a good year. I think a bounce back year for Deshaun Watson. Not a bad squad we're building so far. Eckler, Etienne, Metcalf, Cooper, and Gibbs are what we have on the board. Jorge, I'm not big on Jacobs. I think he's going to have a down year compared to what he did last year. I actually think you took kind of two big names, but not necessarily guys I like this year. You kind of took the guys who were big last year, not necessarily guys I think are going to have big years this year. Okay, I said to you guys, I was going to go probably wide receiver, then tight end. I'm taking Hawkinson. It's that time at the tight end position. We've hit our wide receivers. We've hit our running backs. Hawkinson is top of the board here, like him. Think a full year of him playing with Kirk Cousins is worth it. Drafting him. And by the way, once I do, bit of a run on tight end. Ingram goes. Freiermuth goes. So I like that. By the way, still have some quarterbacks out here. I'm taking Trevor Lawrence as my quarterback. Love the opportunity to take him. Think he could have an MVP, fringe MVP year. I don't think he'll actually be in the MVP conversation in the final month, but I think through the first, let's say, 2 months, 2.5 months, I do think he'll be in the MVP conversation. That is definitely a pick I love. Look at this team right now. Lawrence, Eckler, Etienne, Metcalf, Cooper, Hawkinson, and Gibbs. Am I a little too reliant on the Jaguars? Maybe, but I actually like them. I like being on both the passing and running side of their offense. I think the Jaguars are going to be a top 5 offense this year, so I actually like being there. The one thing I am going to note to all of you guys, I am in bye week hell. I have tough bye weeks at week 9 and week 5, so absolutely something that I need to address at some point. Let's keep it going, though. I already have 3 running backs, so I don't need to address that position right now. I can, but is there anybody I really like out of this group? Not really. Actually, the one I probably like the most is Tyler Algier, believe it or not. If I were to go with some extra depth at running back, that might be a spot I would take. There aren't too many picks left on the board when it comes to running backs, so if you want that 4th running back, some people are going to take Charbonnet. I'm not as high on him, and again, I'm already in a bye week 5 hell, so that doesn't do enough for me. Let's look at Tyler Algier. Tyler Algier is a week 11. Again, this is the backup to Bijan Robinson. You guys might not be as crazy about him. He's someone I kind of like. I think he's going to get more opportunities than people think. Pierre Strong is another player I'd keep my eye on. Jamal Williams, we kind of know what we're going to get out of him. Good production in the red zone. Might want to consider him. He's, again, a week 11. I'm looking towards running back right now because I'm in a bit of a bye week hell when it comes to week 5, week 9. Week 9 really hurts me, actually, at the running back position. Now, you guys may want to wait, pick someone up off the waiver wire, but I actually think I'll go with Jamal Williams, again, more because he is a really good substitute during a bye week for another player because he is such a red zone heavy player. The fact, if he gets me 1 touchdown, he fills in the void that I need for that 1 week. Now, normally, if we were in a different situation, I'd look at Jamal Williams. I want to see his schedule. I'd want to see his schedule for this year because when I do look for that kind of backup to a bye week, I want to see who the Saints are playing in week 9. Is that a good matchup? If they're playing a tough defense that week, it may not be advantageous to me. So that's one of the things I'd be thinking about. This is the 2012 schedule. I want 2013. So anyways, I will go with him, though. I will take Jamal Williams. I'll draft him here. And again, loaded up on my running backs. I've got 4 running backs. So even if injury hits me, I have enough depth to handle my 2 running back positions and my flex spot. So that's how I'm handling it. How did the picks go after my Jamal Williams, which I know to some of you might be a reach? I'm okay with that. There was a bit of a run on wide receiver. Not surprised by that. I probably need wide receiver depth as well. Now, because I've added so many running backs, it's put me in a good position, actually, where I don't need wide receiver on the flex. But let's look at wide receiver. I actually think Gabe Davis could be a really good pick this year. I kind of like that one right there. Quentin Johnston is getting really good pub. I like Zay Flowers, too. Oof. Jackson Smith and Jigba I like. There are a bunch of wide receivers I like here. Let's look at Zay Flowers. Zay Flowers, 13. The bye week is week 13. I like that. I think he's going to be a good rookie. I usually like to get one rookie wide receiver, one rookie running back, guys that the teams, the owners in my leagues usually don't pay attention to because I'm way more focused on college football than they are. I think Zay Flowers could have a breakout year with the Baltimore Ravens, so I really like that play. Again, helps me out in my bye week. Drafted, put him on the board, and again, you're just seeing building out some good depth at wide receiver, building out good depth at running back, addressing my bye weeks, building out what I believe is a pretty solid team right here. Let's see how the picks went after. Smith and Jigba, Davis, Quentin Johnston, not surprised. If Jackson Smith and Jigba hadn't gone, I probably would have taken him. Now, are we to the point? Some of you guys like to draft a defense early or like to draft a kicker early. I have a tendency to do that as well, where I will draft somebody just to make sure I own them. Not going to do that right now. Still too early for that. Same with defenses, but just putting it out there, we are getting to that point where we can start to look at filling out the rest of our starting lineup. Kicker and defense bring a lot of points, so you don't want to neglect them too much, but still would like to get a little bit of depth. I'm actually considering where can I get depth? I have my running backs. I have some wide receiver depth. Do I want to get another wide receiver? That way I have 4. Actually, no. Here's what I kind of want to do. I'm going to take a flyer, and I'm going to take a flyer on Dalton Kincaid. I'm going to take a flyer on Dalton Kincaid or Mayer. I like these two rookie tight ends. Problem is Dawson Knox cuts into the value of Kincaid, but I really like Dalton Kincaid. I kind of want to draft him to give me that tight end depth that I'm looking for. Week 13. Oh, never mind. My tight end is already a week 13 bye week, so that knocks out Dalton Kincaid. IP Shade 45, you can see we're doing a mock draft right now. Here's the team that I've drafted so far. I went Eckler with my first round pick, ETN number 2, and then I went with Jahmyr Gibbs number 3. I went 3 running backs in my first 3 rounds. Jorge, 100% I go Jackson Smith and Jigba. I'm not as nearly big on George Pickens. He disappointed me last year. He doesn't have the kind of separation speed that I'd like. He's got good hands, but there's a part of me that feels like he just doesn't get enough of a space. He doesn't break away. He doesn't have breakaway speed, so just not nearly about him. Jorge, Freiermuth or Goddard? I'd probably go with Freiermuth. That's where I would go with the Pittsburgh Steeler. I think that Kenny Pickett is going to find his tight end. I think he could be a good target in the red zone. Just getting back to the problem I was having, we're looking for tight end depth. Now, I told you week 5 is a tough week for me, but not at tight end. At tight end, Hawkinson's week 13. Gerald Everett is week 5. Only concern about Everett is the injuries, but I will draft him here. That gives me depth at tight end. So now I have 4 running backs. I have 3 wide receivers. I have 2 tight ends. I've addressed my depth issue when it comes to bye weeks. So now I'm kind of in a position of the best player available. I'll probably go back to wide receiver. And I'm going to take a flyer. This is a good time in the draft, given where my position is to take a flyer. I'm going to take a flyer on Sky Moore. Sky Moore of the Kansas City Chiefs, I think could be a really good pick here. It's a week 10 bye, so I don't have any conflicts with my bye weeks with my other wide receivers. This is just me taking a chance on Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, and the overall offense of the Kansas City Chiefs. So I will draft Sky Moore. Again, just adds a little bit of wide receiver depth. He gets touchdowns in a number of different ways, receiving, rushing, so he has good versatility in that offense. You can see, I actually like the bench I'm building because they all have a good role. Jamal Williams is a red zone guy. Sky Moore is the versatility. Gerald Everett is the steady tight end rather amongst all those wide receivers. And Zay Flowers, he's going to get more opportunities than people think in that Ravens passing game. So I love my bench. That said, it's the starting lineup that I really like. Jorge, the reason I took Sky Moore right there is because I'm taking a flyer. This is the time in the draft where you want to take a risk. I've already gotten my starters. I've already gotten my backups. So now I want to take a risk. When you get to this point in a draft, you want to find a diamond in the rough. This is where you want to buy low because you want to take a flyer on somebody. Sky Moore, how many options are in that Kansas City Chiefs offense? They don't have that many wide receivers. So if I believe in Patrick Mahomes, if I believe in Andy Reid, if I think the Chiefs offense is more of a statement of those two, and it wasn't just about Tyreek Hill, it's not just about Travis Kelce now, the Juju Smith-Schuster opportunities are going to go to Sky Moore. I actually think Sky Moore is undervalued. I think this is a really good draft pick. You may think I lost you, but look back on this one, again, as a depth play, as a bench player. If he gets off to a couple good games, you can throw him into your starting lineup. Maybe you slot him in a bye week. But to me, Sky Moore is a risk worth taking with only 5 more picks left in my mock draft. Let's finish out this mock draft because we have our Formula One expert joining us in just a minute. That said, I don't have depth right now at quarterback. If I wanted to take a backup, I might be so bold as to take Aaron Rodgers, but I'm not going to actually. Where can I get? It's Aaron Rodgers, Jared Goff, and Geno Smith are kind of the 3 I have my eye on. I know Anthony Richardson could kind of be a fun play. What's Jared Goff's bye week? Jared Goff's bye week is week 9, same as Trevor Lawrence. That knocks him out. Let's look at Geno Smith. Geno Smith's bye week is week 5. That plays into my Trevor Lawrence. I'll take Geno Smith. Again, normally I wouldn't do it this way if this were my draft. I'd look at who the Seattle Seahawks are playing week 5. In fact, let me do that really quick. So Seahawks 2023 schedule. One, two, three, four. So they play the Bengals week 5. Okay matchup, not great. But Geno Smith, decent backup to Trevor Lawrence here. Someone I would consider. Aaron Rodgers, his bye week's week 7. Let's look at the Jets 2023 schedule. The Jets during week 7. Or sorry, I'm looking at the wrong thing. It should be me looking at the matchup during week 9. Week 9's what I care about. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So the Jets play the Raiders week 9. So the week that Trevor Lawrence is going to be out because of a bye week, the Jets play the Raiders. Might want to take Aaron Rodgers. Might not be a terrible play. On the other side, the Seahawks. Who do they play week 9? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. They play the Commanders. So both of these quarterbacks have a good matchup week 9. I'll take Geno Smith. I'll draft Geno. He'll be my backup quarterback just in case something happens to Trevor Lawrence. He has a good matchup in week 9 when Trevor Lawrence is on the bye. With that said, we have only 4 more picks to go. Now we are at that point where, yes, I probably want to get I want to get my defense. I want to get my kicker just to lock him in. Who's available at kicker? If I can get Justin Tucker, I take Justin Tucker. That's just a personal rule of mine. I'm taking Justin Tucker. He is the best kicker in the NFL, one of the best in NFL history. So I will take Justin Tucker here. Might be still a little bit early for you guys to get a kicker, but I want to lock in the best kicker that I possibly can. Let's look at defense. Feeling the same way about defense. I want to get the best defense I can. San Francisco 49ers defense is number 1. I'm going to draft them. Eagles defense is another one I actually have my eye on, believe it or not. That said, 49ers defense, drafted. Now look at my squad. How good a team do we have right now? Lawrence, Eckler, Etienne, Metcalf, Cooper, Hawkinson, Tucker, Gibbs, 49ers defense. Really strong bench. Still have 2 picks to fill things out. Here, it's running back, it's wide receiver, whoever is still left that we like. Wide receiver, anyone that stands out. Someone we want to take a flyer on. By the way, I'll take a flyer, if we can, on, man, not too many actually here that I like the flyer on. Maybe Mecole Hardman, maybe Josh Downs. It's actually not great at the wide receiver. Running back. I'd actually take a flyer on Pierre Strong. He's going to be the backup running back to Ramondre Stevenson. Watch out for him. That could be a good pick, actually, that I just made. Getting some extra depth at running back. That's now 5 running backs that I have. So I've filled out my running back depth. Or is it 4? No, it's 5. 2 in my running back slots, 1 at my flex, as well as 1 on my bench. Still have 1 more pick to make. Need to fill it out. Another wide receiver. Oh, okay. Here's a wide receiver that I'm going to take a flyer on. Again, you guys may not want to follow this one because it is a flyer of all flyers. I'm going to take John Mechie. This guy has incredible speed. When he was at Alabama, he showed it off. Coming off of cancer, fighting cancer, he's going to be back. So I'll take a flyer on Mechie. Again, that's just to add some wide receiver depth at the very end. You guys may not like the last few picks. Strong, Mechie, Sky Moore, as Jorge alluded to. But those are just some players that I could take very low risk, maybe high return, high reward for taking them when I do. But we just filled out our first mock draft of the year. This mock draft was a snake draft where I was picking 5th overall. We will do these a lot over the next few weeks. So guys, make sure you're with us every single day. Of course, hit that follow button. That way you know every time we're live. Hope you guys really enjoyed that. We will be doing a lot of mock drafts. Do I get a score? Yeah, they didn't like my team that much. Or maybe, let's see. I'm team 6. So they didn't like my score that much. They thought I was the 4th best team. Kind of curious what they think of. Wanted to see what Team 10 was. Team 10. A lot of brand names, but I don't really like. And on the other side, Team 3. Let's look at Team 3. That's a pretty good squad. I don't hate Team 3. I get that. And Team 1. Okay. I'm okay being 4th to a couple of those. I thought Team 10 kind of sucked, to be honest. Anyways, appreciate all those appreciate all those joining us. Hope you guys are having a wonderful day. We just did a mock draft to help you guys out with a snake draft. That said, now we have on the line our Formula 1